Coming up on Mountain News this morning, a police officer in our region who was severely hurt while on the job returns to his post to continue serving his community. And lawmakers call for changes within the Department for Juvenile Justice after several violent situations at several facilities.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
.34 on your Friday morning. Good morning. I'm Dakota Makris, and boy, we are jazzed for Friday. I feel like this week's kind of just, Brandon, I don't know about you. I feel like this week's kind of like started out kind of slow, then just like went right by. I don't know.
Now, here is the thing. I wasn't here with you a couple of days this week.
I know there was peace. It was peaceful.
It's exactly right. Yeah. But I was working on Wednesday, so I had a 4-day week and not a 3-day week.
Working from home. That's what they call it.
I did.
You did.
I did. I was working behind the scenes.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, it seems like it's been a long week. Trip to Cleveland will do that to you. All right, let's take a look, see what's going on out there this morning. Up on top of Whitesburg Pine Mountain, it's a little bit snow covered up there, but the roads are in decent shape. Now, again, still some school closings and delays on the bottom of your screen this morning. Let me see if some of the schools over that way are on this list. Maybe some delays out there this morning. Looks like Jenkins is on a delay, and then Letcher is closed. So that's kind of the area that a lot of buses cross that mountain to get back and forth between Whitesburg and Arley Boggs over in Eola on the other side. So I can understand that. But again, check your school closings on delays in the bottom of your screen or at WYMT.com. We're looking again at temperatures in the 20s and low 30s out there this morning. Some mid-20s out there. Irvin, Moorhead, and Ashland all at 25. Harlan and Jacksboro on the other side at 32. So again, most locations in the upper 20s this morning, and you can see those temperature averages from 24 hours ago are continuing to fall. Just a couple of spots that are right where they were yesterday. That's at Prestonsburg, Pikeville, and Logan. Everybody else is colder by several degrees. Your breakfast forecast, pour those frosted weather wheats into your bowls and get out the door this morning. We're going to see temperatures in the mid to upper 20s all the way through mid-morning. Dakota?
All right, Brendan, thank you. After one Pikeville police officer was injured in a foot chase, doctors believe he would never be back in a uniform again, but he set out to prove them wrong. Our Jordan Mullins has more about this officer's story and how he returned to serve his community despite all the odds.
In June 2022, Pikeville PD officers were serving a warrant when an officer went down during a foot pursuit.
I could hear, I thought he broke his leg at first. That's how loud the sound was from his foot. I knew he was hurt.
After stepping in a ditch, Captain Russell Blankenship believed he simply had an ankle sprain, but doctors discovered it was much worse.
Ended up, it was a little more than that, went and had it checked out, had MRI, and ended up being, I tore a tendon and ruptured a couple of ligaments in my ankle.
Doctors said Blankenship's injury could have ended his career.
A lot of people, a lot of individuals would have just quit and went home. But Russell doesn't do that. Russell don't quit.
But after surgery and 6 months of rehab and recovery,
the recovery process was a lot slower than what I thought it was going to be. A lot of therapy. It took, I was off almost 6 months with it. And a lot of that, probably half of that was non-weight bearing.
Blankenship returned to his post on Monday to continue his service to the community.
When I got hired here, I signed on and said I would never leave this place, and I'm going to get my 20 years in, if possible. I owe it to the community, I owe it to myself and my family and friends.
Returning to duty and never giving up.
That was Jordan Mullins reporting. Captain Blankenship also had a birthday on Wednesday and said being back to work was the best present he could have received. Floyd County native John C. Hall Jr. has died. He died Tuesday at the Willows in Hamburg in Lexington. Hall is well known for his role at the Hall Funeral Home as co-owner, funeral director, and embalmer. He is said to have been a lover of all things Martin, including Martin Purple Flash High School, basketball, bluegrass music, country cooking, and Eastern Kentucky in general. His family said he had a passion for helping students attend college. So to keep that passion alive, the family is asking that memorial contributions be made to the WYMT Mountain Classic Scholarship Fund. Visitation is from 3 to 9 today at the Hall Funeral Home, and his funeral will be held on Saturday at 1 p.m. at Highland Memorial Park. At least one man is dead following a crash early Thursday morning in Breathitt County. The crash involved two vehicles on Highway 15 near Brewers Drive. The man who died was identified as 20-year-old Talbert Noble of Jackson. He was driving an off-road motorcycle and pulled into the path of a Ford F-150 truck that hit him. He was pronounced dead at the scene. The crash is still under investigation and a reconstruction is pending. Public support is declining across the country for capital punishment. Kentucky still allows the death penalty. Executions have been on hold for more than a decade, with 26 people on death row. Death row inmates include Ralph Bays, who killed Powell County Sheriff Steve Bennett and Deputy Arthur Briscoe in 1992. Their friends and family members say they're still waiting on justice promised by a judge and a jury.
30 years plus on death row isn't the life I would envision for myself. So he's being punished, but justice to me still hasn't been carried out and won't be until there's an execution date set.
State lawmakers have filed bills to abolish the death penalty. Republican lawmakers are calling for changes within the Department for Juvenile Justice. It comes after a number of violent incidents at several facilities, including a riot at the Adair County Detention Center in Columbia last fall. Governor Andy Beshear also spent a good chunk of his Team Kentucky briefing talking about reforms yesterday. Our Phil Pendleton has more on what was discussed.
Republican members of the House and Senate say a work group has wrapped up meetings on what can be done to fix problems at juvenile detention centers.
One of the main things that I feel like we need to address immediately is a change in leadership within DJJ.
It comes after several staff members were hurt and a teenager was gang raped in Adair County. There's been other problems in Louisville and in Western Kentucky facilities. And most recently, former employees filed a federal lawsuit alleging offenders being neglected and abused.
We must have access to all employees. Now, the governor says that he's not standing in the way of access, okay? But what the staff tell us is they don't feel comfortable, that they feel like their ability to speak with us is hindered.
Lawmakers did commend the governor on separating male and female offenders and more serious offenders from less serious. But they're calling on more to be done.
We need an independent party to come and do an inspection of these facilities, give a full report of what's going on, what's gone on, what's the morale like.
Governor wants lawmakers to approve a sustainable $50,000 entry-level salary for frontline workers. That and some capital improvements would require budgetary legislative approval.
Do that, but we have seen improvement in our numbers in the Department of Corrections when we got closer to that $50,000 mark.
All of this comes as lawmakers say some offenders are becoming more hardcore and violent.
Pertinent information to this is the gang relationships and the violence that these gangs perpetuate. And this is spread throughout the state as these kids go to different centers.
Beshear also said youthful offenders need to qualify for bail, just like adults receive from courts. In Frankfort, Phil Pendleton, WYMT Mountain News.
The legislature could look at the proposals when they reconvene next week.
Forecast this morning here at about 6:42. We're looking at some cold temperatures across the region, and you see the colder spots coming in as that front is basically setting off to our north and west, slowly drifting toward us. That's going to keep us a little bit cooler today. It's going to cause our temperatures to be slower to climb, even with a lot of sunshine coming a little bit later today. I only think we get to right around 31 or 32 out there. It's going to be much warmer this weekend, much nicer this weekend, and it's also going to be drier this weekend. So bundle up today. You'll need those jackets. Dakota?
All right, Brendan, thank you so much. When we come back here on Mountain News this morning, researchers discover an increase in children getting diagnosed with autism during the last couple of decades. Stay with us. That's on the way.